Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Tom Morgan, Oklahoma City Mad Mouse. Glad to be joined tonight by David Hodges. Good evening, David.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
All right, and Rick Curti, welcome to the big show. Back to the big show. You're on many big shows.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Doing good.
We get ready for Game 6 of the 2020 World Series, but before we even get ready for it, let's talk about the fact that Clayton Kershaw has won 2 games in the World Series, and he's also 4-1 this year in the playoffs, 13-12. So, Rick Curti, for a guy that likes to lean on Clayton, now you got to be nice to him.
I know. I mean, he has really redeemed himself. I'm quite shocked because he's choked so much in the playoffs or in the World Series recently. And he has stepped it up. He looks like the Clayton Kershaw of the regular season. And right now, he's proved me wrong. And he closed out Game 7, and they win the World Series. All that, choking and all that shortcomings he did will be erased. So, I mean, and I love the Dodgers. I'm a Dodger fan, so I hope to see it. I hope for him to get it done, and he'll get that monkey off his back, and he won't have that label no more. So it's going to be this is a big game for him and for the Dodgers.
You know, get Rick Curti off his back. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely performed clutch in the postseason for sure. It was pretty lighthearted when you had that press conference with his kids being right there, and it was just a lighthearted moment. Anytime you have with children in a post-game press conference, right, David Hodges?
Well, most definitely. I agree with what Rick said. You know, this is definitely a monkey he's wanted to get off his back, you know, for the longest time. You know, he's one of the best pitchers of this era. And to know how you can be so dominant in the preseason, but or the regular season, but once you get into the postseason, and or go any further a World Series, and to know you're not reliable, then that's definitely something you'd have to talk with a sports psychologist about, obviously. But yeah, he needs this. Obviously, not so much for his trophy case, but for him to say, I've finally, gotten rid of these demons. I've shown the Dodgers that, when we go back to the World Series, that, the World Series of old, ghosts of Christmas past, to steal that phrase, those, that they're gone. And, he can be the dominant force, that he needs to be for that ball club. He can, that team can lean on him like the Giants did Madison Bumgarner a couple of years ago, when he just absolutely owned the Royals in the World Series. So, yeah, he's definitely ready to shake this label of, not being able to perform in the World Series. So, yeah, it's, this is probably going to be their Game 7, even though it is Game 6, they're ready to go ahead and close it out. And, I am ready for them as well. And, of course, Dave Roberts is. Obviously, we've talked about in past weeks how he's been on the hot seat, and it's almost World Series championship or bust for him. So Dodger faithful, the Dodgers faithful all over the nation, they're ready for them to close it out and finally lift that trophy.
Yeah, well, when you look at the Dodgers in general, I mean, we've all talked about they've had some near misses, haven't won one since 1988, 32 years out. I don't care if it's a 60-game season or 162-game season. The postseason does not get shortened. You play quality baseball in the postseason. Say what you want about the regular season, but the postseason is as intense as ever. The competition is as fierce as ever. And when you make it through the postseason, you earn your way through it. I don't care about anything called an asterisk, because I think every championship here does not need one. These are the circumstances being what they are. When those guys get championship rings, championship trophies, they should mean as much to them in 2020 as they would in any other year. So, but yeah, Clayton Kershaw is proving a lot of doubters wrong, and he can lift that gorilla off his back. More power to him. Let's talk about game 5. Okay, or wait, no, game 6. Excuse me. Manuel Margot's potential steal home. I thought it was a gutty move, and I'll tell you what, I liked it, and so did his manager Kevin Cash. The Tampa Bay Rays are known for manufacturing runs. I believe this was the first attempted steal in over 20, 25 years. So, yeah, so it doesn't happen very often. How did you like the move, Rick? I mean, because I'll tell you what, if Manuel Margot's attempt is successful, then you're looking at a 3-3 game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a gutsy move. That's what I like about managers like that. You just roll the dice, and if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. To me, Tampa Bay has nothing to lose. This is all the Dodgers. This is the Dodgers winning the World Series, and no one expected Tampa Bay. We all thought the Yankees and be Dodgers. And Tampa Bay is just like that little sleeping giant that just went through everybody. They have one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. And it's like, why not? Go for it. And no one expected us here anyway. And I think that's why Kevin Cash is so successful. He can roll the dice like that. That took a lot of guts to do that. And I applaud him for that. And I love it. I love to see people just make gutsy moves. And if it don't work out, it don't work out. To me, that showed he has a lot of confidence in his team. And I think that's why a lot of the players love playing for him.
Well, they're a team based on speed. And yeah, the word house money applies to the Tampa Bay Rays. Low payroll, all player development. Yeah, I thought it was a great move. If it weren't for the awareness of Max Muncy, he pulls it off. It's not like he missed by that much. It was a really bang bang type of play. And talking about a matter of inches, David Hodges, that move was exactly could be a serious changer if Manuel Margot pulls it off.
Almost definitely. And, one thing I don't like in playoffs and across all levels of sport is, when players try to either get cute with something or might try something that, if it doesn't work, it's going to be very, very detrimental. But again, it's like you mentioned, and Rick mentioned as well, nobody expected Tampa Bay to be there. So again, I think, that they can get away with this, if they're going to, try a little trickery here and there, again, why not? They were not expected to be there. And, it just, it shows I guess, again, as Rick mentioned, the level of confidence, Kevin Cash has in the team. And, and like, and if it does, some things will work, some things won't work. But you could be one heck of a goat, or I guess not greatest of all time goat, but the other goat.
Right.
If it doesn't work, and it's something you're going to be questioned about, and and sports pundits such as ourselves will say, well, that was a pretty boneheaded move. Why would he try something like that? It's World Series, or there have been calls in past Super Bowls. Well, why would you do that? That's could cost your team the Super Bowl, or plays in the NBA or in the NHL, but yeah, I mean, it's, the Rays can pull it off this year, with again, team, obviously, as y'all have mentioned, lowest payroll in baseball, on house money. Why not?
I agree. Well, let's talk about 30 of the previous 46 teams to win Game 5 for a 3-2 lead have won the title 6 of the last 14 years. So that's a good omen for the Dodgers. But you know what? Nobody has come to raise out. So Rick Curti bases, you're talking about teams that win Game 5 certainly are destined to win it all. But does that apply to this series, or do you think that the Rays could go against those numbers?
I mean, anything can happen. We're going through a situation where this is like an epidemic that we're, in the last 100 years, we haven't seen anything like this in our lifetime. So anything can happen. And if there's anyone that could pull it off, it's definitely could be the Rays. I mean, like I said, there's no pressure on them. I mean, a lot of people just thought they were going to get swept, and I didn't think so. I said I see this going 7 games because Tampa Bay is so scrappy. They manufacture runs. I think a lot of people are just counting them out. Like I said, all the pressure was on the Dodgers and nothing was on the Rays. To me, the Dodgers have to win the series. I mean, they cannot go to a game 7, because if they go to a game 7, they're going to give Tampa Bay all the confidence in the world. The Dodgers have to close out game 6, because if they don't close out game 6 and it goes game 7, I can see Tampa winning this. So they have to close this out, and Kershaw can pull this off and close it out, and they win the World Series. The monkey's off his back. The monkey's off Dave Roberts' back. I wouldn't have to be talking about getting Mike Scioscia every season like I've been doing for the last 3 years. And so the Dodgers had to win this game, but if there's anyone that could pull it off, Tampa Bay definitely can do it.
Dave?
Yeah, the Dodgers, they got to go ahead and close this out because, I'm trying. I think I mentioned last week or the week before, as David Justice always says, nobody wants Game 7 across, baseball, basketball, or hockey. Game 7, you can, I guess, throw out the record book, so to speak, because anything can happen. And it's I agree with Rick. It's all on the Dodgers here. They're this close. They can smell it. They can taste it. They need to go ahead and close out this series, because I agree. I do agree with Rick. If it goes to Game 7, I picked the Dodgers to win this, but again, going to Game 7, anything can happen. And a lot of times anything can and does happen. So it's all on the Dodgers here, and and of course, then Dave Roberts is sending out his resume to any other team that's looking for a manager. The day after Game 7, if it goes that far. But the Dodgers, they need to go ahead and take care of this. Whether it be a players only meeting before the game where they say, hey, we have to finish this. Let's get the monkey off our back, and they can say, well, we were cheated out of it with the Astros scandal. Let's go out there, let's get this, let's bring it back to LA, and and let's join the Lakers in celebrating with our fans.
Well, the Dodgers do close it out tomorrow, Game 6. They're not going to have Kershaw available, because Dave Roberts has made that very clear. Clayton's off limits. He would be available for a potential Game 7 in some kind of a role, but it looks like Bueller is going to be on the hill, right? Is it Walker Bueller?
I believe
Bueller.
so.
Yeah.
Bueller.
Right.
Right.
He'll be available on the hill. But yeah, I definitely believe with you guys. Okay, LA has to get it done in 6. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, again, Tampa, to me, you're talking about the ultimate David and Goliath series. They don't have any fear. They took the New York Yankees to win a game all, and we know how that turned out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When they played each other, and so there's no question in my mind that they've got. In fact, that's how they've lived all year. Don Mattingly keeps singing the praises of the Tampa Bay Rays, that this is a model organization for a lot of our organizations to follow. With their scrappiness, their speed game, they won't overwhelm you with their power numbers at all. They do it on the base pass. That's what makes them very difficult to play. So we'll go on. Let's go back to Saturday night a little bit, where the Rays scored 2 runs on the bottom of the 9th off Dodgers closer Kenley Jansen. Brett Phillips had a tying single, which turned out to be a game-winning hit off, and Rudy Arzarena, I love that's pronouncing it, sprawled in dirt and pounded his hands on home plate for an 8-7 win. Well, I got to tell you, what are your thoughts about Rudy's celebration?
Well, that was a good game. I mean, that was a heartbreaking loss for the Dodgers right there. And you got to give it to Tampa Bay there. That was a great series. That was a great game. That was a great inning. Heartbreaking for the Dodgers, and they regrouped themselves and came back and won. That could have been like, oh God, here we go again with this scenario. So I didn't have a problem with it. It's the World Series, and you do something exciting like that, I have no problem celebrating like that. It's the World Series. You might not get there ever again, and I have no problem when you're at the big game to be all happy and celebrate like that. It's not like it's a regular season game where you hit a home run, you know, and you're trotting around the bases and you're down. Oh yeah, by the way, we're still down by 10 runs. Or this bat flipping thing that's annoying to me. I hate the bat flipping thing. So, but when you celebrate like that and during the biggest game and something exciting like that, I would have done it too. So no problems for me.
Well, everybody has different ways to celebrate on the big stage. It's one thing to do the things you're talking about. We're going to get to that in a few moments too, by the way. But yeah, I have no problem with finding there a light hitting guy like Brett Phillips. To me, who nobody knew anything about going into the World Series, has a game-winning hit. Albeit there were a couple bobbles along the way to get there, but in the end, you're right. The Rays, stay had a very big win for the ages and arguably the most exciting game in World Series history. David, some thoughts?
Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of old boys or old players who they're going to hate certain celebrations. A lot of people love them. And as Rick just said, it's this is the biggest stage these guys have been on in their careers. More likely all of them. And yeah, I have no problem with it. I'll, as long as it's nothing crass or lewd, then hey, let them celebrate. It's again, it's the World Series, and it's I guess it's kind of take away from the saying that there really is no tomorrow. It's these guys have worked so hard, they played this game all their lives, and I mean, yeah, if they want to celebrate a little bit, let them celebrate. Yeah, I'm with Rick, especially on the bat flipping. To me, that's just rubbing it in the face of the opponent. I mean, you hit a towering home run. Okay, good. It's you got your moment, but again, it's no need to rub it in. But yeah, I have no problem with it.
Well, now that we're on the celebration situation, Baseball Hall of Famer Reggie Jackson, aka Mr.October, talked about celebrations, and he says there has to be a line that needs to be drawn for Brash Celebrations, and the guy he was referring to was Fernando Tatis Jr. He feels like you guys have said it's very disrespectful, and I always go back to the old adage, covering the NFL like I did when Barry Sanders played, and the ball over the official, and it's not like you're not gonna haven't been there before. But these guys take it to different levels. But let's talk about Reggie Jackson. Guy won 5 titles. We all know he's in the Hall of Fame, and if there's anybody that's worthy of commenting on it, I definitely think Reggie Jackson certainly has a voice that everybody should be heard.
Definitely, I agree. He's one of I get one of the best hitters. One of the most well-known, well-respected Hall of Famers. That are still out there today, that are somewhat still around the game. And yeah, and there are going to be people that will agree with him. As I mentioned previously, a couple of maybe some purists, they don't agree with celebrations. Celebrations, as I just say, they don't bother me unless they cross a certain line. Maybe that's what Randy Moss did in Green Bay, many years ago when Joe Buck, kind of, I don't want to say went crazy, but apologize to the viewers, for Moss's action and it being on the broadcast. But yeah, there's going to be people that as I said, they will agree with him. Some will disagree with him. Definitely gives the Stephen A. Smiths something to talk about. Where they'll be able to chime in and put in their 2 cents. But as I mentioned, as long as it doesn't cross a line where it's you're disrespecting the other team, or it's lewd behavior, then let them celebrate.
So yeah, Rick, your thoughts about Reggie Jackson?
Well, that was kind of interesting because I remember when he would hit up some towering home runs. I remember he would kind of just walk to the bases sometimes, admiring and staring at sometimes. So I thought it was kind of interesting that he said that. But I think a lot of it has gone out of hand. The Jose Batista, when he did the whole bat flipping thing, he's annoying me to death. I hate things like that, especially when you're like down like 10 runs or 8 runs and you hit a solo home run and you're there admiring it. I hate stuff like that. I remember when pitchers would hit him all the time, And I just hated the whole bat flipping thing. Then you see it like um, in the Little League World Series. I remember this one kid in the Little League World Series hit a home run, and he was kind of taking his sweet old time around the bases and like kind of like bragging a little bit. And the head coach of the team came out and said, "Yeah, you don't do that kind of stuff." You know, and that to me, that's why I don't like seeing that, because a lot of the young kids emulate that and say, "Oh, that looks really cool. I'm going to do that." And it's not cool to do that, you know. Carl Everett's another one. I remember when he hit a home run,
Right.
and he's running around the bases, and even the announcers were like, "What is he doing?" He acts like he's like he's a Bill Mazeroski hitting the game-winning home run in the World Series. They're down by 8 runs, and this fool's running around the bases like he owns the team. So it's just dumb. It's stupid. Just hit it, knock and run around the bases, high five people, and move on. That's why I love players like Barry Sanders. When he scored a touchdown, didn't do all that stuff. He scored a touchdown, high fived his players, gave the ball back to the referee, sat down. Just do that. You know, just hit your home run around the bases, and don't be a jerk about it. And unfortunately, some of these players have lots of money, massive egos. They're on TV and they want to look good. And, you know, that old saying, chicks dig the long ball. You know what? I'm not one of these people that dig the long ball. I'd rather see a 2-1 game instead of seeing a 500-foot home run, you know, or like someone who slam dunks the ball and, you know, they have to make it all fancy. At the end, it's only 2 points, just like this. No matter how far you hit a home run, it's just 1 run, or it depends who's on base, but it still counts as 1 home run. So that's just how I am.
Well, let me tell you what, in baseball, you show up the other team, there's always that unwritten rule that you stand up in the batter's box and these pitchers are going to take note. They're going to flatten you and throw at you, whether it's low, high, or whatever. Nobody wants to be showed up. So, you know, how many times have you seen that happen through the years in baseball? I mean, I'm not,
Countless.
and I don't like celebrations in the NFL, although I got to tell you, the cell phone celebration, I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Joe Horn that did that?
Yeah, he
So.
also pulled out a Sharpie too, I remember.
Yeah, I got to admit though, every now and then there's an entertaining one when you pull out a cell phone in your
Yeah.
pocket. I mean,
Well, you know, being here in Charlotte, we had, you know, great receiver Steve Smith. You know, he himself was known for some of his antics after scoring touchdowns. One that stands out, he basically just ran into the end zone and then jumped on the padding on the field goal and just slid down like it was I guess, you know, a firehouse ladder. So, you know, I mean, I'm sure, you know, there are many others he did. And obviously, Chad Johnson, you know, up there in Cincinnati, you know, he was, you know, doing his river dance thing. You know, he was so known for, um, you know, wacky celebrations. And, you know, Rick, as you mentioned, Terrell Owens, you know, he was the one who pulled out the Sharpie, signed the ball,
Yeah.
and, you know, I guess gave it to a fan or whoever. But, you know, I mean, yeah, there have been, you know, players all, you know, across all sports that'll celebrate. I can deal with a bat flip more than I can, you know, an NBA player slamming the ball and shouting, you know, trying to, you know, I guess, you know, break the glass with his, you know, with his voice. But, yeah, it's, you know, it's just, you know, it's one of those things, you know, some people are always going to hate it. Some don't mind it, but, you know, just keep it in moderation.
yeah, I mean, Jackson makes some valid points, and nowadays these kids here don't have any idea about the history of the game, and then they're pulling this. The only celebration in the NFL that I've really ever cared for is the Lambeau Leap. Different story.
Yeah.
Jump into the crowd.
That's tradition. Yeah.
Right.
That,
And
I
get the
agree.
chance to celebrate Lambeau Leap. Glad it happens. Don't care.
Yeah.
Green Bay, we all know how rabid those fans are anyhow. And they pay good money to go to Lambeau. So
Mm-hmm.
you might as well take those end zone seats and create a lot of value to them. And the Lambeau Leap goes ahead and meets all the check boxes. All right, well, let's talk about Major League Baseball in general now. MLB lost $3.1 billion during the pandemic-shortened season. Got to wonder, though, whether Rob Manfred actually, to me, thought he should have canceled the season, knowing it was $3.1 billion when you look at it.
Mm.
That's a lot of money, you know, and I'm sure they're going to raise up ticket prices next season and make up that loss, unfortunately. And you know,
Mm.
that's the unfortunate part, that you know they're going to have to recoup their money somehow. It's a lot of money for anyone, and I mean, the reason that a lot of these you know companies did play games, it wasn't that how much money they were going to make, it was how much money they didn't want to lose. That's the story for 2020, and Major League Baseball is going to lose a lot more than that, so they had to do it. They've done a great job. Prove me wrong. I thought it was a big mistake to do this. I thought it was going to be a whole bunch of outbreaks, especially with what happened with the Marlins earlier in the season. So, you know, to me, this season it wasn't about how much money you're going to make; it's how much money you didn't want to lose, and they were going to lose much more than that, and that's a whole lot of money there. So, I'm afraid they're going to have to raise up ticket prices and some merchandise items to recoup their loss.
Yeah, I think losing $3.1 billion,
Mm.
that's steep. It really, really is. But I think when you think about it, though, is the $3.1 billion, you bite the bullet a little bit, knowing that considering at one point we didn't know if there'd even be a season, that the PR loss would be far greater than the $3.1 billion, and there's a collective bargaining agreement to be had as well. So when you think about it, Dave.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, any commissioner across sport, if they even see, you know, half that money, or half of 3.1 billion, they're just going to cringe at it. But yeah, as Rick said, they're definitely going to have, they're going to recoup it. Just when the government sent out, stimulus money to all Americans, when this pandemic started, they're going to get it back one way or another.
Right.
Whether it be they're going to increase, of course, they will have to increase ticket prices, parking, merchandise is going to go up, and and yeah, it's they're going to have to recoup it, and obviously we may see a little bit of when once they get the money back, maybe prices will level off, and of course Rick and myself, we're being here in the Charlotte region, we don't have Major League Baseball, we got minor league baseball, but yeah, a lot of fans, or especially the ones that have season tickets that have been loyal for the longest time, that they can expect to see a hike in their season tickets, and but that's what every sports fan should expect. Once the pandemic goes away, and life gets back to normal, everybody can start attending sporting events again. But it's something they better be ready for. Obviously, anybody that looks at the numbers and sees how much was lost by certain sports. Obviously, of course, football is it's still going on, and they'll have to those number crunchers will take care of that at the end of the season. But yeah, it's definitely sad. But again, like Rick said, they go, okay, well, how much are we willing to lose if we don't even play a season? But yeah, it's sad, but they will recoup it.
Yeah, I think when you put the losses in perspective, though, the $3.1 billion of figure they're going to deal with, they know about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you also know that at least you had a 2020 season, and you learned a lot about 2020 when you know that you had 7 inning doubleheaders, a universal designated hitter, three hitter rule, and that man at second base. So you were able to experiment with a lot of things during the year with the game, than more so than you would under normal circumstances. So they're gonna somehow, some way. Of course, MLB owners they have deep pockets nowadays. To get a franchise, you better have a decent bankroll anyhow. So and again, they didn't want the PR mess. They really didn't. They needed a champion in 2020, and when things looked grim during the summer, where players, we can't make an agreement for whatever, not worth this much money, or you run into 1994 all over again. And we avoided 1994, and we're going to come away with it a lot more knowledgeable for sure going into 2020. But the rule changes are interesting. I'll be curious to see which ones carry over. And you guys are right. There's no question ticket prices are going to be raised. But they also had to maintain the good standing with their television partners as well. And they needed the game on TV. I think they lost money. What about the fact that minor league owners have to bite the bullet because there were no minor league games? And of course, College World Series didn't get played then. So baseball all the way around from every level, it didn't work out. But MLB took by far and away the biggest hit in many respects. Last thing we're going to talk about tonight, Game 6. LA is going to send Tony Gonsolin on the hill against Tampa Bay's Blake Snell. Gonsolin has had his playoff struggles, giving up 8 runs, 3 home runs, 7 and 7 2/3 innings, 9 Ks and 7 walks. So when you look at things for the Dodgers, they probably know that practically everybody's available in the bullpen, but I got to assume that Roberts has hoped he can get at least 5-6 innings out of Gonsolin to shorten up that bullpen, knowing that he does have some heavy horses in Game 7. So, Dave, what are your thoughts about, can Mr. Gonsolin pull this thing off?
Well, he's going to have to. As we talked about earlier in the broadcast, the Dodgers have to close it out now. Hopefully he can shake what woes he's had, this postseason, and he can definitely step up. He can just go into, a mental zone to where, he can just, as you say, he can go at least, half the game or if not longer. And, as we said, all the pressure's on the Dodgers and on him now, to go ahead and close this out. Hopefully he can find his form, and, he can give Roberts the innings that he needs, and, he can go to the bullpen if need be, keep Tampa Bay off the base paths. And, he's going to have to find his form. He needs to just, forget about what, ghosts have, haunted him in past games, past series. But, he's going to have to find his form, as are the Dodgers, and they need to put this one away.
Yeah, Tony Gonsolin's numbers don't look that good for sure. And if the Rays get on base, they're like a bunch of gazelles. They're going to run all over the place. So, Well, what do you think, Rick?
He's got to give him at 5 innings at least. I mean, if he gets hit hard and he's out like in 2 or 3 innings and he goes to the bullpen, that's favor for the Rays, And like I said, the Dodgers have to win this game. They cannot force a Game 7, And it'll be very interesting. He needs to get it together. He's got to give him 5 good solid innings, and if he can do that, and they have the lead, or they're down by 1 or whatever, that's all good for the Dodgers. And so he needs to step it up, and because if not, Roberts will give him a quick hook because he has to. So it's all on him. If he gets good 5 innings like that and no walks and keeps the Rays off the base paths, then that's all good for the Dodgers, and then go to their bullpen, and the bats come alive. And like I said, Dodgers have to win this game. They cannot force a Game 7, because if they do, Tampa's going to have all the confidence in the world. And this is the Dodgers World Series to win. No one expected Tampa to be there this far. Everyone saw a sweep. I didn't see it because Tampa's just a scrappy team, and so he's got to give him good 5 innings and give it to the bullpen, and hopefully the Dodgers can wrap this up and be World Series champions.
Well, Blake Snell is no pushover. He's been the Tampa Bay Rays leader, so
Yeah.
Gonsolin better pitch well. I'll tell you what, Blake Snell can. He's a Performance Cy Young Award winner, so Tampa Bay Rays have a good hurler out there for sure, and I think they'll give him a run for money. I think you're right. If this thing gets to a Game 7, I think the Dodgers are in real trouble. Not to say they can't pull it out, but don't give an underdog an opportunity to stay alive anymore. You have to go in and you got to smell kill.
Yeah. And it's in a neutral site too. It's not like they're playing in LA, or it's not like they're playing in Tampa Bay. That's another advantage for Tampa Bay in this series, is that it's in a neutral site, and there's no home field advantage for neither team. So like I said, Tampa Bay, this game is made for Tampa Bay to win, because you got the Cy Young Award winner and then Snell, and you got a guy with the struggles for the Dodgers. Like I said, he gives 5 good solid innings, Dodgers will win this. But if he gets shelled and gets pulled out within 2 or 3 innings, it's going to be very, very tough. This is going to be the toughest game for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Blake Snell, I don't care how well Tony Gonsolin pitches, but Blake Snell pitches extraordinarily well. the Dodgers going to be in trouble. So let's not sell Mr. Snell short at all. So good stuff, guys. So Rick, why don't you give us some updates on the ballpark that they're building on Gastonia?
Well, I mean, it looks great. I mean, I've been posting pictures about it. And the season will be starting in April of 2021. Unfortunately, the Atlantic League, they canceled their whole season. But the stadium looks great. There's no name yet for the stadium. There's no name for the team. I've been posting about the names that they selected. Some of them have been kind of interesting names. I think they're thinking about expanding the names and may have some names available. But to me, my favorite name is the Red Ants. That's one of the names up there, the Gastonia Red Ants. To me, that's the best name for it. I kind of like it. It's kind of interesting. And I think that's the way to go with it. And the stadium looks great. It's going to be a 5,000 seat stadium. And it's going to be a multi-purpose stadium. They're going to have like lacrosse there. They're going to have soccer. They're going to have football. They're going to have nights where you can go to the ballpark and watch a movie. How fun is that? So I think this is going to be great for Gastonia, who've had some hard times, ever since the textile mills have closed down. And this ballpark is going to be spectacular. And it's really going to be great for Gastonia. And I'm about 25 minutes away, and I'll be going to the game definitely for sure. And I'm very, very excited.
Has there been any more?
I do want to add one thing to this. I don't know if y'all have seen, but actually, now that we have this league coming in, the Gastonia Grizzlies of the Coastal Plain League, they are leaving Gastonia. I just saw this in the paper a day or two ago. That team is not going to be relocating to Spartanburg. That Spartanburg has had a team before, and that team left and went to Forest City, which became the Forest City Owls. And actually, Forest City, I was I did play-by-play for them the summer of 2013 up there in that ballpark. So a little fact right there. So while we are gaining one team, we are losing another. Sims Legion Park has been the home of the Gastonia Grizzlies. I knew their second owner, Jesse Cole. He sold the team back in, I believe it was 2017. And he's strictly working out of Savannah right now. I believe he's the owner of the Savannah Bananas. Of course, the name, the fruit rhymes with the city. I'm kind of with you, Rick. The Red Ants, from what I see, I'd seen you post. That's got to be my favorite. The rest of them, throw them in the trash bin.
Yeah.
I think it was Hogzilla's. Was that one of them?
Uppercuts.
Yeah. To me,
hot shots. Yeah.
Yeah. If I had to pick one, I'd say Red Ants. That's obviously something we all deal with here in the South. Of course, Red Ants, Fire Ants, whatever you want to call them. But I thought that was interesting how we are gaining one team, but we are losing another. Actually, that same summer I called a few of the Gastonia Grizzlies versus the Forest City Owls games. The broadcaster for the Grizzlies had to put in a whole week of overtime, and just turned out that that week was Monday and Saturday was bookended by games against Forest City at home, and the Grizzlies were on the road the rest of that week. But it's and that's the Grizzlies. They were one team that they drew very well under the Jesse Cole administration. I went to several games there. They knew how to do a lot of pre-game, in-game promotions. They would have cornhole championships. They had the yearly annual Grandma Beauty Pageant. They would just have all kinds of like I said, in-game festivities, and it really brought people out to the ballpark. And among a lot of minor league and collegiate summer league teams, Gastonia was very high up there in social media followers and even attendance. Because I know our local paper, the Gaston Gazette, always had a reporter out there, and there were a lot of wonderful articles written on that team. So, while it is exciting to have a new league coming in, it is, again, sad to have another team going out.
Let's talk about Gastonia baseball. I'm really curious now, does the name Jack and Nina Farnsworth ever come up when it comes to past history with them? Jack Farnsworth, Nina Farnsworth?
Names don't sound familiar to me.
Wow. Probably because I'm going back like 20 some years, 25 years. So.
Ah,
All right. What about the name Blair Turner?
Blair Turner. Doesn't ring a bell with me
That
either.
I used to know
No.
back in my days back in 1987. Predated you guys. All right. Just curious. But all right. So what's going to happen with Sims Legion Park? Has there been any more talk about what they're going to do with it? They're going to tear it down. They're going to use it for American Legion.
We don't know. What I've heard is that they don't know yet. I don't know. That's still up to debate. It's a historic park. Hate to see it go down, but
It is.
I mean, if it does happen, maybe they'll build some condominiums there. You know how they usually do with when they tear things down or make it a parking lot or something like that. But what I've heard is that they don't know what they're going to do with it yet. But I did hear that Gastonia, that the Grizzlies were going to move because it was either going to be the home of the Grizzlies, and then what I've heard is that the president of the Atlanta League of Professional Baseball, Rick White, actually contacted the city and said, "Hey, we want to expand because we're losing a team." It was the New Britain Bees. They went to another league, and so they needed another spot. They looked at Gastonia, and they decided to go with the Atlantic League, which I think is the right move for me. But unfortunately, the Grizzlies, they're going to be moving.
Yeah, in fact, you talked about Spartanburg, David. I remember many years ago when I was working in the South Atlantic League for the Gastonia Rangers, I traveled down to Spartanburg where the Phillies had an affiliation there for many, many years. So I don't know if you knew about the Phillies' relationship in Spartanburg.
I didn't.
It was a
That's interesting.
long-standing. I know about as much of the history in your neck of the woods about baseball as you guys. But then again, when you are 20 years old or 15, 20 years old and you've worked, then obviously that's where the history is. Nevertheless, interesting stuff. So, all right, Rick, why don't you lead it off and let people know how they get a hold of you, and then you're going to wrap up the broadcast with the COVID message, and you're going to talk about voting as well. Go ahead, Rick.
Okay. Well, you can contact me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. My email address is cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB and Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm also on Twitter at Charlotte Bats Baseball, and I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. And I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curti, Curti, and you can contact me on any of those social media websites.
I should point out that Rick does a great job here at South Florida Tribune, making sure all of our stories get out on social media, and he aggressively pushes them. So thank you very much, Rick, for doing that for us. All right, David.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook at Dave Davino Hodges, Davino. Big fan of Brazilian soccer, and since a lot of the stars that have donned the blue and yellow, their names have ended in INHO, I figured I'd give myself a little Brazilian soccer name. But again, Facebook, Dave Davino Hodges. Also on Twitter at Dave Talks Sports.
Very good. All right. If you want to follow us, listen to the audio version of this broadcast, you can do so through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll go over it again. Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. On social media, the best way to follow us is on Twitter at Tribune South, for one of the best ways. Twitter at Tribune South, Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune, our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. So once again, the South Florida Tribune, where you'll be able to see the visual part of this broadcast. Please subscribe to it. I'll give you 6 good reasons why you should. The Sports Exchange, No Limits, 108 Stitches, Baseball Talk, Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, and South Florida Tribune podcast. So you get 6 shows for subscribing to one channel. You want to go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have Motor City Monitor, which enables folks in the metropolitan Detroit area and the state of Michigan to go ahead and follow their sports teams. I put it up there because I have a vested interest in my hometown as well as where I live. We also have our media distribution partners on the website, as well as our columnists. And of course, all the broadcasts can be found on the WSAN drop-down. Feel free to go ahead and check them out. If you've missed one, you can find them on each of their respective shows. Our email address is southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Feel free to contact David, Rick, or myself for any suggestions, comments, whatever. And we'll go ahead and make sure we put them on the air. And finally, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. I'll be more than happy to connect with you there as well. All right, Rick, why don't you give your final COVID thoughts before we wrap things up?
Well, all the scientists and doctors have been saying that during the fall and winter, it was going to pick up and get worse, and we had to hunker down, and they're not joking. It's record high cases everywhere. We've had it here in North Carolina. I'm sure Scott's had it in Florida as well. It's just right now it looks like it's out of control. Guys, please wear masks. Please social distance. Wash your hands. Don't go to crowded events, parties, traveling everywhere, and bring this infection to to your state. It's just gotten really, really bad. Hopefully, we can get a serum out soon, a vaccine out soon, and we can get rid of this thing, and hopefully we can get on with our lives as normal as possible. But please just use some common sense, use some consideration, and please wear a mask, and just look out for everybody. This is the only way we're going to get this, if we all get together and do the right thing and just beat this thing.
And I want to point out, folks, Election Day is a week from tomorrow. If you haven't voted early, do it. Otherwise, you're going to be subjected to long lines, which goes against what Rick Curti and all of us agree on. You don't want to be around big gatherings where you can find yourself voting and run the risk of getting sick at the same time. So I had an opportunity to watch 60 Minutes yesterday, and they did a really exceptional job talking about the election in general. I'm not going to get into specifics, but that certainly was educating. But I had already voted on Sunday, right after football, and I'm glad I got it done and over with. This, folks, you have to vote for 2020. You really do, because this is unquestionably one of the most important elections in the history of the United States of America. So, folks, go ahead and vote. So, on behalf of Rick Curti, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and we will see you next Monday night. Enjoy the World Series. Have a great week, and everybody out, be safe out there. Good evening, everybody.